Tonight, we're not just looking at a book. Think of this more as stepping through a doorway. The title itself is a warning for the journey we're about to take together, a descent into the darkness, guided by actual recordings and first-hand accounts of paranormal investigations. Just let that sink in for a second. Can you even imagine hearing those words? That's what the town marshal said in 1912 as he walked through a silent house of horrors. This statement, it cuts right to the bone of what we're exploring tonight. Not just stories, but the raw human terror that gets left behind. Our guide for this descent is Theresa Argie's 2014 book, America's Most Haunted. And let's be really clear, this is not fiction. This is a collection of case files, a logbook of evidence, and truly chilling experiences gathered from some of the most active and dangerous locations in the country. And that's the whole point of this. We're not just hearing ghost stories told around a campfire. The goal is to place you directly into the investigator's shoes, so you can feel that sudden drop in temperature, so you can hear the whispers in the dark, and experience that suffocating tension of just waiting for something to happen. So if you're here for cheap jump scares, you're probably in the wrong place. This is for those of you who really appreciate that slow burn dread, you know? That psychological chill that gets under your skin when you realize what you're hearing is documented, it's been investigated, and for the people who lived it, it was very, very real. Okay, let's dive in. Our first stop is Willoughby Cole, a historic building in Ohio with a past that is anything but silent. It's the kind of place where history doesn't just whisper. Sometimes it screams. Investigators use a technique called electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP. The theory is pretty wild. The idea is that spirits can somehow impress their voices onto electronic devices, leaving messages from beyond the grave. It's like they're trying to tune into a frequency that the living just aren't meant to hear anymore. And what they hear can be absolutely terrifying. During a session at Willoughby Cole, investigators were looking into the mysterious death of a man named Don Norris decades earlier. They asked into the silence, how did Mr. Norris die? When they played the recording back, a voice screamed a single word: murder. All right, now we're going to travel to a place that is defined by a single, brutal, and completely unsolved act of violence, the Villisca Axe Murder House in Iowa. This isn't just a haunted house, it's a crime scene frozen in time. Back in June of 1912, 8 people, including 6 children, were bludgeoned to death while they slept in their beds. The killer was never identified, which left a wound on that town that has never really healed, and an energy in that house that remains violent and volatile to this day. But here's what's so unbelievably chilling. In the attic, which is believed to be the heart of the house's dark energy, an investigator asks the question, "You're proud of what you did here?" Through the static of a spirit box, a single clear word comes through: proud. No remorse, only pride. And it goes beyond just voices. Investigators reported hearing these deep, guttural, inhuman growls echoing out of the darkness. They came to the conclusion that this wasn't the spirit of a person, but a manifestation of pure evil, an energy either left behind by the killer or maybe drawn to such a horrific tragedy. So how do you even begin to confront forces like this? I mean, you can't just walk into the dark empty-handed. Investigators arm themselves with specific technology, each piece of gear designed to capture a different kind of evidence from the other side. First up, there's the spirit box. It's basically a modified radio that sweeps through stations at high speed, creating this constant wash of white noise and little audio fragments. The theory is that spirits can pluck out syllables and sounds to form words, creating a direct, real-time conversation with whatever's there. Next is the K2 meter. This thing doesn't listen for voices, it looks for energy. Spirits are thought to disrupt electromagnetic fields when they manifest. So imagine being in a dark, silent room and suddenly the lights on this thing start flashing like crazy. That's your first sign that you are absolutely not alone. And finally, one of the oldest tools in the book, dowsing rods. An investigator holds these L-shaped copper rods loosely, asking simple yes or no questions. The rods crossing can mean yes, separating can mean no, supposedly guided by the energy of an entity that's responding directly to them. Now we descend to our final location, a place with a reputation so dark, so violent, that some people call it a gateway to hell itself. Bobby Mackey's Music World, a honky-tonk in Kentucky that was built right on the grounds of a 19th century slaughterhouse. The danger at Bobby Mackey's goes way beyond bumps in the nights. The ultimate threat here is possession, the partial or even complete takeover of a person by an outside entity. The stakes are no longer just about communication, they're about survival. This is a direct quote from the author, Theresa Argie, during her investigation in the club's basement. She was standing still when she felt the distinct, unmistakable weight of two ice-cold hands pressing down hard on her shoulders. Of course, there was no one behind her. And she wasn't the only one. A former employee was working in that same basement when he felt this immense pressure on his chest that almost knocked him over. He fled, convinced it was a deliberate, violent attack by something evil that was angry he was there. So we're nearing the end of our descent. But this isn't a simple summary, this is a warning. Because when you spend your time listening for the dead, you risk attracting their attention. And sometimes, that attention comes with a price. And this is the ultimate takeaway. After an encounter at a different location left her with 3 deep, unexplained scratches on her neck, the author posed this question. It's one thing to hear a voice or see a shadow. It's another thing entirely when the unseen can physically harm you. So for my final feedback, this is an incredibly immersive collection of experiences that makes you, the reader, feel like a fellow traveler into the dark. Now you'll see the final grade is NA. That's because this isn't a story you can just review. To try and assign a grade to these real-life experiences would be to completely trivialize the terror its pages contain. For those of you brave enough to continue this journey, I'd recommend 2 other books. Hell's Gate by Douglas Hensley, which focuses heavily on Bobby Mackey's, and Haunted Willoughby, Ohio by Kathy Weber, who is actually the author's investigative partner. So we'll end with a question for you to think about. If you tune your ear to the static between worlds, if you call out into the darkness and ask for a response, are you truly prepared for what might answer back? For more deep dives like this, be sure to follow and subscribe.